One Chicago is one of the most popular recent television franchises, and the three television shows could benefit from a three-part crossover in 2024. The NBC media franchise began when Chicago Fire, created by Michael Brandt and Derek Haas, premiered in October 2012, and the drama series was an immediate hit, resulting in the network ordering a spin-off, Chicago PD, which debuted in January 2014. Then, when that show was also successful, NBC greenlit another spin-off, Chicago Med, which premiered in November 2015. There was a fourth series, Chicago Justice, but it was cancelled after one season in 2017. In January 2024, Chicago Fire Season 12, Chicago PD Season 11, and Chicago Med Season 9 premiered. The One Chicago franchise has released 33 seasons and over 600 episodes since its debut in 2012. Evidently, the franchise has been quite successful, and over the years, NBC has capitalized on that success by producing crossovers between all three procedural shows. However, as with all television series, One Chicago has its ups and downs, and all the shows could use a boost in the form of a crossover in 2024. One Chicago hasn't had a crossover event since 2019. NBC has released three One Chicago crossovers that have included Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med since 2016. Of course, the years and seasons have been filled with two-part crossovers between two of the series, and sometimes between Chicago PD and Law and Order, Special Victims Unit. However, the last three-part event took place in 2019, so it has been 5 years since the three television shows that make up the franchise joined forces, so a crossover is long overdue. The first three-part One Chicago crossover premiered in January 2016. The story began in the Chicago Fire episode, The Beating Heart, continued in Chicago Med's Malignant, and concluded in Chicago PD's Now I'm God. The firefighters, cops, and doctors crossed paths when Christopher Herman was stabbed at Molly's and rushed to the hospital. The next event occurred in October 2018, and the plot revolved around an apartment complex fire that resulted in numerous hospitalized victims and an arson investigation by the police. The most recent crossover premiered in October 2019 and featured a bioterrorist releasing a deadly bacteria in Chicago. How all One Chicago shows could benefit from a three-part episode. Actors left Chicago shows Med PD Fire. Why? Many agree it has been too long since the One Chicago series teamed up to produce an epic three-part crossover. Given the show's declining quality over the past few years, they could benefit from a crossover. Every series has experienced devastating character exits recently, so it might be good to remind viewers that numerous complex characters still exist in this universe. Bringing the characters together to tell one interconnected story never fails to entertain, seeing as it results in a 3-hour-long episode. The previous three crossovers have been well received by audiences, and a new one could revitalize the three shows. Unfortunately, it does not seem as though NBC has a three-part episode planned for the beginning of 2024. Of course, this could change as the weeks go by and the network announces details surrounding the upcoming episodes of Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med. But as of the writing of this article, a crossover is not in the cards. Perhaps the inevitable fall seasons will be different. Is a Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med crossover possible this season? Chicago PD Halstead Upton, Chicago Fire Severide Stella. Many reasons why NBC has not produced a three-part crossover between Chicago Fire, Chicago PD, and Chicago Med exist. The last event premiered in late 2019, months before the coronavirus, COVID-19, pandemic shut down television and film productions worldwide in the spring of 2020. Once it was deemed safe to resume filming, many productions, including the shows in the One Chicago franchise, had to take many precautions to ensure the safety of the cast and crew. Sadly, the pandemic meant crossovers were impossible, given all their moving parts. So, it makes sense why a crossover didn't happen in 2020 or 2021. Some might wonder why the franchise didn't develop a three-part event in 2022, 2023, or the beginning of 2024, and the most logical explanation is budget cuts. Producing crossovers costs a lot of money, and NBC might not be willing to spend extra cash to give the viewers what they want. Crossovers also result in long workdays and are undoubtedly more stressful for the cast and crew than regular episodes, especially because more time is spent planning to ensure everything runs smoothly. Ultimately, it might be a while before the One Chicago franchise releases a crossover, even if it would benefit the three shows.